When you think of Italy, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably ancient ruins, right? Or maybe Renaissance art, a perfect espresso. It's so easy to just see the whole country as this magnificent, beautiful museum. But what if all that deep, rich history isn't just something to look at? What if it's the very engine that's fueling its future? So that's the big question we're tackling. Is Italy's past a final destination, or is it a launch pad? We're going to explore how the country is pulling off this incredible balancing act between its profound heritage and some truly radical innovation. And we're going to start with something that seems totally traditional, but as you'll see, it reveals so much more. It's a simple, beloved dish that has literally sparked a culinary civil war. That's right, we are talking about lasagna. Now, I know it might sound a little silly, but the debate over where it really comes from is this perfect window into Italy's deep-rooted regional identities and, yeah, some pretty passionate rivalries. At the very heart of this delicious conflict are two cities, Naples and Bologna. So, depending on where you are, the dish tells a completely different story. Down in Naples, it's built on these sturdy pasta sheets made from durum wheat, and they're often layered with creamy ricotta and savory salami. But head north to Bologna, and it's a whole different world. There, it's all about these delicate, fresh sheets of egg-based pasta. They're more porous and just perfect for soaking up their legendary sauces, a rich meat ragu and that creamy besciamella. It's two totally different philosophies in one dish. Okay, so history actually gives us a big clue about which one came first. The ancient Romans had something called lagana, basically a baked sheet of dough. But it wasn't until the Middle Ages that monks started boiling pasta in layers. Now here's the key. Cooks in northern Italy, like in Bologna, were already making egg pasta before tomatoes ever showed up from the Americas. That really suggests their version, which was more like a layered meat pie, probably predates the tomato-heavy style from Naples. And then, in 1891, the Bolognese version gets cemented in a famous cookbook, and, well, it's the one that went on to conquer the world. This tension, this pull between regional identity and new ways of thinking, it doesn't just stop in the kitchen. It actually extends to the land itself. Italy is now taking that same blend of respecting tradition and pushing for innovation and applying it to pioneer modern sustainability, starting in its rural towns. 90? What's that number? Well, that's the number of towns that earned a Spiga Verde or a Green Spike Award this year. It's a prize for excellence in sustainable land management. And get this, that's a big jump up from 75 just last year. It shows this powerful, growing commitment to protecting Italy's rural heritage through really modern practices. And don't think this is just some certificate they hang on the wall. Nope. Earning a green spike is a really rigorous journey. The program looks at absolutely everything, from how the land is used and water is managed to how well a town promotes its own local products. It means the entire community has to be on board, from the local government all the way down to the farmers and small business owners. And that same spirit is now flowing from the countryside right into the heart of the cities. A new vision is bubbling up. One that's focused on creating blue corridors. In places like Bologna and Milan, they're actually repurposing historical canals, using low-impact electric boats and kayaks to reconnect neighborhoods and pioneer a whole new, greener kind of city tourism. It's brilliant. So while Italy is looking inward, rediscovering its own history in these canals, it's also looking way, way out. The country's playing a crucial role in some of the world's most ambitious projects. I'm talking about innovations that stretch from the future of our city streets all the way to the surface of the moon. And no, this is not science fiction. The Italian Space Agency and the company Lasagna Space are literally building the very first permanent outpost for the lunar surface. This pressurized module, it's going to be the habitat, the shelter, the workspace, the living quarters for astronauts on NASA's Artemis missions. It's a massive piece of the puzzle for humanity's return to the moon. Okay, back down on Earth, Italy is trying to get in on another huge tech race, autonomous vehicles. You've got over 60 mayors who are eager to host pilot programs. But, and it's a big but, the nation's own rules are struggling to keep up. The highway code just wasn't written for robots. The whole question of who's liable in an accident is a giant legal mess, and getting approval for these projects is incredibly slow. It's a classic story of ambition running right into a wall of bureaucracy. All right, so from massive global tech, let's zoom all the way in. Let's talk about a revolutionary breakthrough that is profoundly personal. Down in Naples, Italian scientists have achieved a world first in gene therapy, offering real hope to people with a specific form of genetic blindness. So the basic problem they faced was a delivery issue. The corrective gene they needed to use was just too big to fit inside a single virus, which is how this stuff is normally done. So the researchers at the Telethon Institute did something absolutely ingenious. They split the gene in two. Then they put each half into its own separate, harmless virus and injected both into the patient's eye. And here's the magic. Once they're inside the retinal cells, the two halves find each other, reassemble themselves perfectly, and start producing the protein that was missing. It's like fixing code right inside the cell. And the results, they're just stunning. A year after his treatment, the first patient, Antonio, can now recognize faces, read subtitles on TV, and walk outside by himself at night. His words say it all. It's more than just seeing again. It's like starting to live again. For him, this wasn't just science, it was a miracle, born from more than a decade of research. Okay, so we've seen this incredible innovation, right? From gene therapy to habitats on the moon. But all of this amazing progress raises a really critical question. How do you get a workforce with the right skills for this new world? And that brings us to a major challenge facing modern Italy. Just take a look at this. It's pretty stark. Only 37% of the permanent jobs out there that need vocational training are actually being filled by recent grads. That leaves this huge 63% gap. It's a massive mismatch between the education people are getting and the jobs the economy desperately needs to fill. And when you dig into the specific sectors, the problem gets even clearer. In really important fields like mechanics and plumbing, the match rate between graduates and open jobs is below 20%. The jobs are there, but students just aren't choosing those career paths. And a big part of that is due to old, outdated ideas of what those jobs are actually like. Meanwhile, in sectors like food service and tourism, the match rates are way up over 60%. It's a complex problem, as much about perception as it is about education. So how in the world do we tie all of this together? The pasta, the green cities, the moon bases, the skills gap, where does it all connect? Well, let's look at one final iconic example of Italian innovation that I think perfectly captures this whole story of reinvention. The Fiat 600. When it launched back in 1955, it wasn't just a car. It was a symbol of Italy's post-war economic miracle. It was affordable, it was practical, it was stylish, and it literally put the entire country on wheels. And get this, its innovative engine design was so solid, so good, that it was still being used in other cars all the way until 1998. Now that is a legacy. So ultimately, Italy is in this constant, beautiful dance between tradition and modernity. This is a nation that will fiercely debate a centuries-old lasagna recipe with one hand while building habitats for the moon with the other. It has this truly remarkable capacity for reinvention, always drawing strength from its deep historical roots to fuel whatever comes next. And that leaves us with a final question for all of us, really. As we all try to navigate this fast-changing world, what can we learn from Italy's approach? How can we balance our own heritage, our own traditions, with the need for radical innovation, whether we're talking about our food, our communities, or our greatest ambitions?